Today we continue to listen Sīlavanta Sutta. According to the teaching, yogis have to contemplate on the Namarupa or five aggregates of clinging correctly. What is Upadana? We can cling to an object with strong craving or with wrong view. Anything that we can cling to, either with strong craving or wrong view, is called Upadanakanda, aggregate subject to clinging. What are the things we can cling to? They are the things we see, we hear, we smell, we taste, we touch, and we think of. In other words, we can cling to everything in the world. We can cling to everything in the world either by wrong view or by strong craving. When we say this is I, we are clinging by wrong view. But when we say this is mine, we are clinging by craving. The things we cling to are technically terms aggregates, khanda, in Pali. So meditation instruction is very simple. At the moment of seeing, yogi have to note seeing, seeing, seeing. At the moment of seeing, if your concentration, mindfulness getting strengthened, you can discover the five khandhas. At the moment of seeing, the eye sensitivity and the sight are rupa upadanakanda. The pleasant or unpleasant feeling of seeing is vedana upadanakanda. Recognizing or remembering the object of sight is Sinya Upadanakanda. And to see the object and turning the attention towards it is Sankhara Upadanakanda. Just knowing that the object of sight has been seen is Vijnana Upadanakanda. Seeing is not only one seeing, layer of seeing appearing very quickly and disappearing very quickly, and every time yogi notes seeing, seeing, seeing. If your concentration and mindfulness getting strengthened, you can capture these five khandhas. And also hearing, Instruction is we have to note hearing. At the moment of hearing, the eardrums and the sound wave are rupa, upadana. The pleasant or unpleasant feeling or hearing is vedana upadana. Recognizing the sound is sinya upadana. To will to hear the sound and turning the attention towards it is sinkara upadana. Just knowing this, that a sound has been heard is vijnana upadana. You note hearing every time the sound is heard is to enable you to see the five groups of rupa and nama as they really are. And it is to remain at the stage of just hearing, a hearing despair, and there is no attachment to the sound as I or mine or permanent or pleasant or pleasurable, etc. As smelling, at the moment of smelling, the five khandhas are there, namarupa are there, the nose and smell are rupa upadana khandha. Sometimes smelling is pleasant, sometimes unpleasant. The pleasant or unpleasant feeling of smelling is vedana upadana khandha. Recognizing the smell, that is sinya upadana khandha. Exercising the will to smell and turning your mind towards the smelling is sankara upadana khandha. Just knowing the smell is vijnana upadana khandha. Not smelling. Appear and you aware of smelling one after another. You know smelling and smelling every time a smell is smelt. It is to see the five groups of rupa and nama as they really are. Smelling despair. And it is to remain at the stage of just smelling. If despairing immediately and continuously, you have no attachment to it as I or mine or pleasant or unpleasant, good or pleasure, etc. No clinging at all. So, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching. And touching, there are many touch sensations in our body, and they can be detected by paying close attention to what is happening at the present moment. Here, a touch includes the feeling of heat, and when we feel cold, that too is a touch. When we are aware of the rising and falling movements of the abdomen, those movements are touch. And if pressure is felt there, that also is a touch. In touching something, the five aggregates can be experienced in that touch. You already know that earth elements, air elements, fire elements, and water elements are four great elements forming the basic of all matter. Now, by just watching what is happening at the present moment, yogi can develop insight and penetration into the true nature of things. For instance, making a bodily movement begins with the mind's desire to move. Now your concentration is strong and you can capture the intention to move. So yogi want to move, so there is desire, there is intention to move, and minute properties of the air elements are produced by this intention to move. When there is the desire to move, the mind produces new particles of the air elements that outnumber the old particles which disappear. This increase of the air elements is what we call movement. According to the teaching of Abhidhamma, there's nothing that moves. What seems to be moving is only the increase of the material properties, the particles or air elements caused by the intention to move. Every movement, though it seems to be a movement, is not a movement at all, according to Abhidhamma. So how it can be proved? When you go to a movie, you think that the pictures on the screens are moving, but you know that there are no moving pictures. They are all still pictures projected one after another in sequence. When we see the screen, the illusion is created in our mind that the pictures are moving. Actually, they are not moving. What is moving is our imagination. We imagine all of these separate static images to be a flowing continuity, forming a whole, and we think that the pictures are moving. In the same way, when we move our hand, it is not the hand that moves, but the increase of material properties of the air elements caused by the intention to move. This may be seen through the practice of vipassana meditation. When making notes of the rising and falling of the abdomen, you are actually noting the air elements because its function is movement, which is included in the sense of touch. And the air elements is included in the sense of touch. So when you are aware of the movements of the abdomen, rising and falling, you are experiencing a kind of touch. In that experience also, you can find the five aggregates: Rupa Meda, Vedana, feeling, Sanya perception, Sankara, mental formations, and Vijnana consciousness. Actually, they can be found in every experience, and these five aggregates can be clung to by way of strong craving or by way of wrong view. That is why they are called aggregates of clinging, upadana. It is these aggregates of clinging that we have to watch and be mindful of in order to get free from suffering. Even when you are thinking of something, the five aggregates are present. When you are thinking, you are not seeing with your eyes or hearing with your ears. You are thinking with your mind. When you are thinking, you are seeing something in your mind or hearing something in your mind and so on. Objects seen or heard in your minds are called past objects. But if they are visible objects or audible objects, they belong to the meta aggregates. Consciousness also must have a base from which to arise. If we do not have eyes, eye sensitivity, there will be no seeing consciousness. If we have no eardrums, there will be no hearing consciousness. And thinking consciousness also needs a seat. It also needs a base. According to Abhidhamma, the base of thinking is the Hridaya, heart, specifically the blood in the heart. With every experience, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking, they are always the five aggregates. If we do not watch them, if we do not apply mindfulness to them, if we do not apply mindfulness to five aggregates, we will always cling to them either by strong craving or by wrong view. And because they are objects that can be clung to, we usually cling to them if we are not mindful. In order not to cling to them, it is clear that we must watch them while they are present. We can observe them when they are past. Although we may be able to recall some past experience, it will never appear as vividly as it appears during what was its present moment. So, to avoid clinging to these five aggregates, we must watch them when they are evident, when they are obvious, when they are present. Otherwise, we will always cling to them. When there is clinging, when there is upadana, it does not stop there, just with our clinging. Suppose we are attached to something and we want to possess it. Motivated by the desire, we will try to possess it. Kama bhava, and we will do something to acquire it. Some people may steal it, some people may take it by force from somebody, or some people may even commit murder just to get what we want. People will try to possess it, kama bhava. So, motivated by clinging, people take up actions, kama bhava. Sometimes what we cling to is unwholesome, and sometimes it may be wholesome. Whether wholesome or unwholesome, since they are karmas, they have the potential to give results in the future. And we will get the results of those actions in the future. When there is clinging, there is actions. When there is actions, karma bhava, there is a result of that actions, vipaka, in the form of rebirth, jati in the future life. With rebirth, jati, there is aging, sickness, death, and so on. Jati, jara, marana. So the duration of our samsara is prolonged if we are not vigilant, if we do not apply mindfulness to what we experience at the present moment. When yogis see object, see them as just namarupa, or five aggregates that arise and disappear, and understand that they are transitory, they are temporary, they are impermanent, they are suffering, and they have no soul or self. Then yogi will not cling to them. When there is no clinging, there can be no actions, no upadana, no kama bhava. When there is no actions, there will be no reaction. As a result, no vipaka. So that is why it is important to apply mindfulness to whatever experience yogis are having at the present moment. It should now be clear that it is important not to cling to the five aggregates of clinging. In order to avoid clinging to them, yogi must watch them, yogi must make notes of them, and yogi must be mindful of them when they are present. So the question, what are we to make notes of the five aggregates? And for what purpose do we have to make notes of them? The answer to when are we to make notes of the five aggregates? When we are to make notes of the five aggregates at the present moment. For what purpose? For what purpose do we have to make notes of them? Not to cling to them. We have to make notes of them. When making notes of the five aggregates, we must try to note them as and when they arise while they are still existing. But that moment is very short. So yogi quickly note, immediately note to capture that present object. So we speak frequently about the present moment. Actually, the present should be understood as a present duration, not as a just present moment. This is because when we are mindful of the objects, most of the things we observe are no longer present. In less time, perhaps than a blink of an eye, they have already become the past. For example, when yogi are mindful of anger, when yogi are making notes of it, the anger is no longer there. Anger had disappeared. Why? Because you're mindful, you note. Because anger and mindfulness cannot coexist. Just the fact that your mind is engaged in being mindful of anger means that the anger is not in your mind at that same moment. Anger is already in the past. But because it is so brief, a moment of the past, we call it present when saying, be mindful of the present moment. However, while you are being mindful of your breath or the wine, while you are mindful of the rising and falling movements of the abdomen, there are times when you are actually see the exact present moment. This can happen when you are noting the rising and falling movements of the abdomen. If you are noting and the movement coincide exactly, coincide accurately. But this cannot happen when you are being mindful of your thoughts, because by the time you are mindful of them, they are already in the past. But in the context of vipassana, we regard them as being present. When we say be mindful of the present or be in the present moment, when practicing vipassana meditation, it is essential that you remember to be mindful of the object at the present moment. So yogis must be mindful in order to avoid attachment to the five aggregates of clinging, upadana khanda. You don't want to cling to them because clinging leads to karma actions. Action leads to reaction, which is suffering, and you want to escape from suffering as soon as possible. In order to avoid suffering, yogi watch the present moment. You're really mindful, and by just paying attention to the object at the object of the present moment, yogi can get concentration. Yogi can penetrate the true nature of things. A yogi can progress from one stage to another. Finally, yogi reach enlightenment just by paying attention to every object at the present moment. So according to the answer given by the Venerable Sariputra in the Sīlavanta Sutta, a bhikkhu who is virtuous or whose sila is pure should practice vipassana meditation to see the five aggregates of clinging as impermanence, as suffering, as a disease, as a thorn, as a stranger or foreigner, as a dissolution, as void, as not self, etc. Immediately following this sutta in the Samyutta Nikaya, there is a discourse called the Sutta Sutta. We can regard it as a sister sutta, as the text is the same as the Sīlavanta Sutta, the only difference being that the bhikkhu here is Sutta Vanta, an instructed monk. The word sutta means heard. In ancient times, writing materials were not easily available, and it may have been customary in those days not to write down the teaching of the Buddha. So the teacher taught and the student learned by listening to his talk. That is how the word sutta came to mean something a person has learned, and Sutta means one who possesses knowledge through learning, one who is knowledgeable, Sutta. In this discourse, Venerable Mahakutika asks Venerable Sariputra the same question as in the Sīlavanta Sutta. What are the things that an instructed bhikkhu should carefully attend to? And the answer is also the same. An instructed bhikkhu who has the necessary knowledge of the Buddha's teaching should carefully attend to the five aggregates of clingings as impermanence, as suffering, as disease, as foreigner, as non-self, etc. So these two suttas may be regarded as one. In order to see the five aggregates of clinging as impermanence and so on, what do we need? We need samadhi, concentration. Without concentration, we cannot hope to see the five aggregates of clinging as impermanence and so on. Concentration is an important factor in the practice of vipassana meditation. Whether your practice is samatha meditation or vipassana meditation, you need to have this essential part of meditation practice. To gain concentration, what must we do? We must practice mindfulness. Without mindfulness, we cannot get concentration because mindfulness means full awareness of the object. If there is no full awareness of the object, there can be no concentration in our mind. So to get concentration, it is necessary to practice mindfulness. In order to practice mindfulness, what do we need? We need to make effort. Atapa, atapi. Without making effort, we cannot practice mindfulness. The three most essential things for the practice of meditation are samadhi, concentration, mindfulness, sati, and effort, virya, atapa. Atapi, satima, samadhi. So three most essential things we need. These three working together. Suppose 3%, person A, person B, and person C go to the garden to pick the fruits. The trees are high and the fruits, they cannot reach there. So 3% A, B, C have to work together. Person A have to bend his back as a bench so that person B can climb on his back to get the fruits. Person B climb on the back of person A so that he can reach the fruits. To be stable and firm for person A and person B, person C stands nearby person A and B to support them. So three person works together and now they can pick the fruits successfully. So person A, who bend his back as a bench, can be compared as virya, effort. Person B climb on the back of person A. Person B can be compared to samadhi, concentration. And person C, who support person A and B, can be compared to sati. So virya, sati, and samadhi, they are working together, working harmoniously. So you make effort to be mindful and you become mindful. And then with the support of effort and mindfulness, you get concentration. Once you gain concentration, once you gain stillness of your mind is free from mental hindrances, nivaranas. Then you will begin to see the five aggregates of clinging as impermanent, as suffering, as a disease, and so on. Now you correctly see the five aggregates of clinging. Your seeing is correct. Of the three main steps in meditation, mindfulness is the most important because it is required for all meditation. It can never be strong, never be too strong. We need it to be strong, and the stronger it is, the better. But we need to be careful with the other two steps, effort and concentration, virya and samadhi. Effort can be too little or too much, and concentration can be too much or too little. If there is too little effort, we cannot practice mindfulness. And if there is too much effort, we also cannot practice mindfulness. Too much effort leads to agitation and restlessness. It can come when a yogi is so eager to achieve something, so eager to reach enlightenment, so eager to get results. With such eagerness, the yogi tends to exert more effort than is needed. And when more effort than needed is made, the mind becomes disturbed or it trembles and it's agitated. When the mind is agitated, it cannot stay on the object. So, too much effort is to be avoided when practicing meditation. And concentration can be too much also. When there is too much concentration, a yogi tends to lose his effort or reduce his effort. Then concentration regains the upper hand and the yogi's effort level falls again, leading him to be lazy or leading him to be sleepy. When there is lack of effort, the necessary concentration for meditation suffers. This kind of cycle must be avoided if the practice of meditation is to proceed smoothly. Effort and concentration needs to be just enough for the purpose. They need to be balanced. How to balance them? When we are practicing vipassana meditation, we have to be we have to be mindful of two things, either the in-breath and out-breath or the rising and falling of the abdomen. But when another object becomes prominent at the present moment, we are to put mindfulness on that object until it disappears. Then you return to the breath or the abdomen. So the basic practice is to be mindful of two objects, either the breath or the abdomen, and whatever object might arise to distract you. Why two objects? Why not just one object? Or why not more than two objects? If you have to be mindful of more than two objects, it can arouse too much effort and cause agitation. And if you have only one object to attend to, putting your mind totally on that one object is not recommended. Although you can get concentration, in this case, the concentration could become excessive. So in order for your effort not to be too much or too little, you are given two objects to keep your mindfulness strong, steady, intact, and without agitation. Being mindful of just two objects helps you to balance effort and concentration, two important factors in the practice of meditation. They must always be balanced. They must always be just the right amount, not too much and not too little. So Sīlavanta Sutta, if we continue in next week, now sitting meditation for a few minutes. At the present time, yogis can reap the benefits of the truth of the Dharma, the teaching of the Buddha. This time is a golden opportunity. Even the time is pandemic. You can take this great opportunity and practice meditation, you can surely achieve the most precious Dharma. And the great and rare opportunity will not be always available simply because the life of our human being is likely to come to an end within a short period of time. You know, present is very short. And Buddha's always encourage Jayata Bhikkhave Mapamadatta. Do contemplate, do note, do not forget, do not delay, do not fail to contemplate. If you miss the opportunity as it comes, do not regret. Vaya Dhamma Sankara, all Sankaras, all psychophysical phenomena are impermanent in nature. All mind and matter, or all aggregates, five aggregates come into existence when conditions are met, and they disappear immediately after arising. So yogi can find nothing lasting or reliable in these five aggregates, in these namarupa. Reliable is only nibbana and megaphala. So try your practice, try your best in the practice to gain the real Dhamma.